Welcome back to Pastry Maestra. I'm Teresa and today I'm making apple tart. Apple tart is, simply said, everyday, unglamorous, down-to-earth comfort food. It will never be a showstopper, but it tastes great, doesn't have too many calories and is easy to make. It is a French classic, of course, although its history is unknown. Who invented it, how, when, nobody knows. Now, during my research, I've noticed that the terms pie and tart are often used interchangeably, which is a mistake. In fact, pie and tart are quite different beasts. Yes, they belong to the same family, and yes, both have crust and a filling, but similarity stops there. So, let's see what's what, shall we? Now, a pie is baked in a pan with sloped sides and fixed bottom, and the crust can be just at the bottom, just at the top, or both. Most often the two-crust version is used, but is not a rule. The edge of a pie can be designed as purely flat or slightly fluted. Main goal is a crisp, flaky crust that should be big enough to cover the entire pan from the base towards its lipped edges. A pie pan, often called a pie plate, pie dish, or pie tin, is round, shallow, slope-sided dish with a flat or fluted rim to hold the edge of a pie crust. While the most popular American pie pan is made of Pyrex glass, pans made of aluminium, tin, heavy black steel, and fired clay are also available. After the filling has all been placed inside, the crust is then cut in a circular manner about its lip and then pressed towards the edge. Pies are served straight from the dish in which they were baked. Tart is a dish with shallow sides and only a bottom crust. Tart crusts are usually made from pastry dough, traditionally flour, unsalted butter, cold waters, and sometimes sugar. The goal is a firm, crumbly crust. A tart pan has straight sides, some fluted, some not, that turn out neat, more professional-looking pastries than the slope-sided pie pans. Most tart pans are made of metal, and the best have a removable bottom, allowing you to slip off the outer ring without marring the beautiful crust. Unlike pie pans, that are always round, tart pans come in an endless variety of shapes and sizes. Tart should always be baked in a pan with a removable bottom or in a pastry ring, sometimes called a flan ring, which is a thin metal circle half an inch to 1 inch deep and in varying diameters that sits directly on the baking sheet, resulting in a much crisper bottom crust. Tart is always unmolded before serving, and that is the rule. Okay, now you know why pies and tarts are not identical twins, so we can focus on the most important thing, and that is to make sweetness. Like I've said, the sweetness of the day is apple tart, and yes, I know, there are hundreds of recipes for this dessert on the web, but what you're about to see is my version, so hopefully you like it best. Fingers crossed. As usual, recipes on my site, the link is down below. First thing I'm gonna do is make apple filling. I'm gonna peel and core the apples and cut them into cubes. Then I'm gonna put butter and sugar in a pan and heat until butter melts. I'm gonna add apples and spices and cook until all the liquid evaporates and apples become soft. Then I'm gonna leave them to cool. While my apples are chilling, I'm gonna make pâte sucrée. I'm gonna cream my room temperature butter and powdered sugar into a bowl of a stand mixer fitted with a paddle attachment. When my mixture is creamy, I'm gonna add an egg yolk and continue mixing. Finally, I'm gonna fold in flour with salt, wrap the dough into plastic film and chill it for about half an hour. While my dough is chilling, I'm gonna make my hazelnut crumble. I'm gonna mix powdered sugar and sifted flour into a bowl and add cold butter cut in cubes. Then I'm gonna rub the dry ingredients into the butter with my fingertips until I get crumbly mixture. Now I'm gonna mix in hazelnuts. I'm gonna spread my crumble onto a parchment paper-lined baking tray and bake it at 180 degrees centigrade, which is 350 degrees Fahrenheit, for about 10 to 15 minutes until golden brown. Then I'm gonna take it out and leave it to cool. My short crust pastry is nicely chilled and rested. I took it out from the fridge and now I'm gonna break it with the palm of my hand and press it over the table surface a few times until it gets more elastic. I won't do it too long, the pastry has to stay as cold as possible. Now I'm ready for rolling. At this stage, it is important to rotate the dough as you roll so it doesn't stick to the surface. If you need to add more flour, add it carefully. If you add too much flour, it will affect the texture of the pastry. I'm gonna keep rolling and rotating until I get even 3 to 5 millimeters, which is 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick sheet, which should be larger than my mold. I'm happy with the thickness and size of my rolled dough, so it is time to roll it onto my rolling pin, put it over the mold and gently unroll the pastry. The next step is to quickly lift the sides of the pastry and tuck it into the mold without breaking it, which isn't simple, especially at this moment when the dough is at room temperature for some time. Now it's time to remove the excess dough. The easiest way to do that is to take my rolling pin, press it in the middle of the mold and roll out to one side and then to the other one. And now I'm going to gently press the sides of my tart with my thumb all around. If your hands are too warm, you can take some of the remaining pastry and form it into a ball. Roll the ball into the flour so it doesn't stick and gently press the ball to the sides of the pastry in the mold. Now I'm going to remove the excess dough with my small knife by cutting it from the inside out at the top of the tart mold. I'm happy with my tart shell and now I'm going to put it in the fridge for 10 minutes. Before baking, I have to fill my tart shell with baking weights. Without weights, the sides of my tart shell would melt and slide down while baking, and the bottom of the tart would rise. I'm putting thermostable foil and baking weights inside. You can use some dry beans or chickpeas instead of weights. I'm gonna bake my tart shell at 180 centigrade, which is 350 Fahrenheit, for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Now I'm gonna remove the weights and put the tart shell back into the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes until it is completely baked. My tart shell is fully baked. At this point, I will lightly brush the inside of my tart shell entirely with an egg wash and take it back into the oven for another 2 minutes to cook the egg. The egg wash will act like a varnish to my baked tart shell. Any filling I put inside of my tart won't soak my crispy tart shell and make it soggy. My tart is done and cooled. First, I'm gonna fill it with apple filling. Then, I'm gonna top it with hazelnut crumble. I've dusted my apple tart with some powdered sugar. All I need now is a cup of coffee and I can enjoy my perfect sweet treat.
Oh baby, you are so sweet, so delicious and yummy, so good to eat. I wanna lick you, feel your sweetness on my lips. Forever and ever, you'll stay on my hips.
I'm Teresa. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it. If you want to stay in touch, follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and of course, visit my site where you can find elaborate posts with lots of pictures, additional information and recipes that follow my every video. Also, on my site you can download my free 365 pages ebook, The Pastry Chef, and maybe buy me a macaron. If you think that I've earned it. Now, before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That really helps a lot. Finally, and this is the most important thing, don't forget to create sweetness every day, because sweetness is happiness. See you in my next video. Bye!